So she worked 6 months to look a certain way for
24 hours.
For 24 hours. Let's just make sure that we are trying to understand this. Hey, welcome to the first ever Avenu workout podcast. That's right, where I'm combining two of my favorite, well, let's say 3 of my favorite things here. This is my wife, Cassie, who's the first love. And then my other 2 loves are working out and podcasting. So we figured, why not? Let's just do all of them together here. So this is a follow along workout while you're listening to us, while you're watching it on your phone, while you're watching it on your computer, whatever it is we want to do. So just some boundaries here for you. If you're following along with the workout, we have 2 dumbbells. She's got 10-pound dumbbells. If you want to grab 8s, or if you want to grab 12s or 15s, go for it. But also down the side of the screen, or on this side, whatever side of the screen is going to be on, there's going to be the whole entire workout. We're going to work for 45 seconds, we're going to rest for 15, work for 45, and we're going to go for 14 minutes, just like so. So we'll warm up with 2 minutes of some stuff, then we'll get into the workout part of it all, and we'll take it from there. But the whole thing about this is her being interviewed while she's working out. So we're going to require her to do 2 things at the same time. So we're starting off the warm up with a little bit of the inchworm. And so getting her into this here as she's kind of just walking out and kind of preparing for this, thought it'd actually be fun. If some of you know Cass, you know her from Avenu, but you don't know life before Avenu. So I thought it'd actually be pretty interesting to let you in a little bit of a secret for those of you who don't know it, that before she came to Avenu, before she met me and life just became magical, she was into figure competitions, fitness competitions, whatever it is that you want to call them here on this one. She's pretty damn good at it too as well. And sometimes she doesn't like to talk about those things. And I thought, you know what, this would be a perfect time for her to talk about it. So she's got just a few more seconds right here, and then when she pops up, I'm gonna let her tell you why she got into it in the first place.
Yeah. So about the age of 10, which was a long time ago, I know, shocking to some of you, I turned 40 this August, so 30 years ago. That's crazy to think about. 30 years ago, I started my love of lifting weights. When I was 10, my dad would go to the gym in the summers, and I would always ask to go with him, and he would always say yes. So there's a parenting lesson for myself in that. I think about how many times I tell our girls, no, not today, maybe tomorrow, and then just keep delaying, we'll see, we'll see. So he never told me no, which I really appreciate today, because I wouldn't be here where I am, training at Avenu with Brent, of course. So that's kind of where all this started, with my love of training. And my dad actually did bodybuilding competitions as well himself.
So then you fast forward you got into love of fitness because you just went with it. You became a trainer. You started working at a gym called 18 Fitness down in Stafford.
Yep.
Right at the time, right there. You got 2 more here for you. This one. So just a quick little transition here on this one. You're gonna grab the 2 dumbbells here next. She's gonna grab them too as well. Follow along, little squat, curl, and press. So you get to 18 Fitness. Your boss is Charles.
It's 18 Fitness. My boss is Charles. He is doing bodybuilding competitions himself, natural ones, of course. And he says, hey, I think you would be really good at this. You should consider it. So thought about it a little bit. I always loved sports and competition. And then too, I always admired the ladies in the magazine, not because of the way that they looked. That had some to do with it, but most importantly, I knew the hard work, determination, grit, discipline, tenacity, all those things that it took to get them where they were. I just admired that a lot in them and thought, why not? That would be a fun challenge.
So you're thinking about this, fun challenge. Most people look at that and say, bodybuilding, fun challenge, starve myself, crush myself in the gym every single day, eat nothing but dry chicken. Last one, you got it, you set it down. We're gonna drop down a little bit of a stretch here. World's greatest stretch, one and all. So you say, hey, your idea of fun, a good challenge is this dry chicken, endless cardio, lifting a bunch of weight and getting big and bulky. And you said, awesome, sign me up for it.
Yes. Well, I got to watch he and his wife do this several times before they asked me to join along. And so I think that trust was already built there by watching them and seeing what it took. And yeah, it did sound fun. I mean, no one loves bland chicken, but the idea of having a goal, seeing it through, putting in the hard work, that was appealing to me.
And so you say goal, what was the initial goal? Was it to win the competition, to show up for the competition, to get to a certain weight and then certain body fat percentage? I mean, what was this initial goal that kind of you said, hey, I loved it, I thought that was it, that's the goal I want to do?
The goal was to just follow him along in the process.
All right. relax with it.
and the system that he had in place. So it was going to be several different phases: the bulking up phase and then the cutting lean phase. Squats again.
Yep. Not yet. No, you still got a few seconds here.
See, we're just like you. We want to start early. We're talking. We get distracted. So.
All right, here we go.
It was to trust him and follow in the process. So I really had kind of no expectations of this is what I was going to weigh, this is what I was going to look like. Again, I'm just trusting him. I've watched Hannah's wife do this for several years now and was just along for the journey. I know that at the end of the day, it was all up to me at the end of it because I'm the one that had to eat right, do the work, and follow what he told me to do.
So there's a couple of key points in there, actually. I haven't ever picked up on this until kind of right now on this video, about 12 seconds left, is that she did not set like a goal as far as like a tangible number that she was going to be at here. She was going to say, hey, I was going to trust the process. I was going to follow along. I was going to follow his lead. All right, relax right here. We'll drop right back down to the stretch again. So she says, hey, I see someone who's been successful at it all. I said, hey, will you coach me through this? Will you take me through this? Will you teach me to do what you did? And so what she said is like, I didn't have expectations to as far as like, this is a certain body weight I was gonna be at, this is a certain body fat percentage, this is the way I was gonna look. She said, no, I was gonna trust the process. And she stepped back and she followed. How long did it take to get ready for your first show?
So it all from bulking up phase to like cutting lean phase, which those terms sound horrible and ridiculous, but that's what they were. It took about 6 months.
So 6 months. So when we look at a magazine, or we look at, you know, anything, wherever it is that you might see somebody, you go, God, I want to look like that person. We think that they get there overnight. And what we think is that they're like that year round. And if you just heard part of what she just said.
You're like that for 24 hours.
Say that again, make sure they didn't hear it over the car.
You're like what that picture looks like for 24 hours.
24 hours. 24 hours. All right, relax right there. Come back, come grab the dumbbells again. So she worked 6 months to look a certain way for
24 hours.
For 24 hours. Let's just make sure that we are trying to understand this. Because again, we have a lot of people that come in and you're thinking about it all. 3, 2, go for it. Is that you should look like this year round. And then it should only happen in 3 weeks. And if it doesn't happen within 3 weeks, then, you know, this isn't the right way. This isn't the best program for me to follow. But again, go back into what she said here on this one, is that she says she did a phase of bulking up.
Yep, and leaning out.
And then a phase of leaning out. So meaning there was probably 2 different phases within this 6 month period, maybe 3 and 3, I don't exactly know how it all went. But there was a phase when you're like, it's like the ugly duck. It's like, you have to balloon up, and everybody was like, what the heck is she eating here on this one?
You gotta be comfortable with doing that, and again, trusting
Keep on going.
the process.
Our board fell down here on this.
That you can't really, it's hard to achieve big time goals, a lot of them at once, right? So you kind of had to break it down between, this is what I'm focusing on right now for this.
That's great stretch.
Oh, I already did that one.
Yeah, over there. Yeah, sorry, over the head.
And so, trying to break it up into smaller segments, right? 6 months can seem daunting, but when you say, all right, 1 month at a time, my goal is this. 3 months of lifting heavy, being okay with gaining weight, knowing that I was going to get to a point that we were going to be working on decreasing body fat and getting trim. And it was just, again, all part of the process, being willing to be patient with the journey.
So you go back into this phase of, and just so no one gets kind of the wrong idea of it all. So when you start lifting, like the initial goal that she had of the bulking up phase here, if we just kind of keep going back into it, it sounds kind of funny when you talk about that.
Yeah.
But the initial phase for her, that was a goal. The goal was to gain weight. So it's not like when you start a new program, you're going to immediately start to gain weight. It was like, no, that was very specific. All right, relax right there, go back into it. That was a very specific goal that she had. So there was this period of time of over consuming, I would imagine, right?
Good quality foods, but yeah, you're definitely at a calorie surplus versus a deficit.
You got it. All right, here we go, stepping back into reverse. And then there was the lean out aspect of it all here on this one. And when it came down to the lean out portion of it all, so let's just say obviously we're lifting big and heavy in the beginning, and then you're like, hey, okay, now we got to start to kind of land this plane. Let's start to try to take it down and then land it. What did those sessions start to look like when you got to that point?
It started to look like a lot of what we do here. And then it also involved a lot more cardio and conditioning, which nowadays I don't really agree with, but for that purpose, it was good for that. So that doesn't fit me right now for this life season. But it was what I needed to do for that point. So endless of hours on the treadmill was not fun, but again, had the goal in mind, and to remind you, that was for 24 hours. So in nowadays life, that regimen is not sustainable and is not worth it. I'd rather spend time with my kids, my family, doing the work that I love.
So I heard this great interview, and this to kind of pipe it into. This lady called it her happy fat. And in essence, she said there's probably 5 to 10 pounds that she probably could stand to lose, but she knew that if she had to try to get really strict, get into this endless hours on the treadmill or the elliptical or the bike, start to get back into this very structured, very regimented type of eating program here, she knew she wasn't going to be happy. And she was going to have to sacrifice a lot of things that she wasn't really interested in doing here on this one. Hang on, one more time here for you, listen. Good, and just relax right here. So we're going to transition back down to the ground here next on this one. So we can go into a little bit of some mountain climbers. Take your time here. Let's get photos out. But she knew. She said, "Hey, if I try to get rid of this here, I'm not going to be a happy person here. I'm not going to be able to hang out with my friends. I'm not going to be able to, enjoy maybe a couple glasses of wine and stuff here on this one." So she learned to accept it.
Yeah.
She learned to accept a few things along the way, trade-offs, if you will.
Absolutely. And that's the part for me. After my first competition, I placed 10th and continued to keep training for the next one. So the next one, I did get first place. Woo-hoo. And then after that, you go to the national level. So once I got there, I realized this was like a whole nother league that I just had no interest in. For some people, it's their cup of tea. For me, it wasn't. I like to work hard. I like to be disciplined. I also like to have fun. And so it was just getting to a point where it was not sustainable for me. And I was losing the fun in it all. This way. So after doing one competition in nationals and kind of seeing what it took to compete well at that level, seeing what the girls look like, I just decided that wasn't for me. I dedicated a good 3, almost 4 years to it, and then I just knew kind of that season of life was done for me. A little too vain, to be frank and honest, than what I wanted. I wasn't concerned whether my right calf was just as big as my left calf, or if I had an 8-pack versus a 6-pack. There are more important things in life to me.
Exactly, like finding me. All right, last one right there for you. This one, good. We're gonna flip back over to the mountain climbers here on this one. So this is gonna be pretty hard. We're kind of like in the home stretch here of all this stuff. So not to paint the picture that this was like a bad season or anything, that there's a lot she learned, there's a lot she still brings with her into this day. So say about this, if you could sum it up and say, hey, this is the best thing, this is like maybe the 1 or 2 or the 3 things that I still, from that period of time that has stayed with me for so long, that helps you stay in shape now, that helps you as a businesswoman, as a mother of 2, as a wife, as all these things here together, comes together. You're busy, you're stressed, you're strapped for time, just like everybody else out there. What are some things that you've taken from that period of time to help you today?
I just think that keeping in mind that goals are worth it. That was the goal for me at that point in time in my life. And like Brent said, I don't regret it at all. I loved that phase. Like, it led to some really cool things that I got to do through that. So the goal that you have in mind is worth it. And although the journey is hard, and although the journey costs something, most things that are great do. So just keep reaching for your goals. And it doesn't have to be having an 8-pack. It can be, I just want to be in the best shape that I can for where I am today, and something that is sustainable. So there are so many character traits that were built in me in that season that I still carry with me today, and I might not have those today had I not gone through that.
So there you have it. As we finish it all off here, listen, you got about 15 seconds left of this first inaugural Avenu Workout Podcast. We hope you've been enjoying the follow along part of all of it. So you got about 3 more here on this one. But to summarize it all up here on this one, if you think back to kind of everything that Cass has said, is that one, that you have to understand that it's part of, good, relax right there, please. That you have to understand that this you can't control the outcome. The ultimate outcome is you can't control, but what you can control are the behaviors, the process, the journey in which you take. It's finding a guide, finding someone like Avenu, finding someone who's out there that can say, hey, follow this direction, staying with it for longer than 3 weeks before you throw in the towel and get pissed off and say, this doesn't work here. As she said, she stayed with it for 6 months, and she went through 2 different phases of 3 months of
4 years almost.
yeah, so all this time of up and down and up and down and up and down before it all really stuck into what she is now today, to make it something that is truly sustainable for her in this period of life. So, you boil it all down, one little last nugget of wisdom to kind of close it out on this first little podcast that we have.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Keep going.
That's it. Make it sustainable. Don't give up. We'll see you next time around.
Thanks, you guys.